Joker, Folie À Deux. I think that's how you pronounce it. As with any review, this may contain spoilers. This movie is up and down. It's the sequel to Joker, which came out in 2019. The sequel has parts in the story that I liked and parts I did not like, and I'll get to that in a bit. The story is a continuation of Joker, and we find Arthur Fleck, aka Joker, played by Joaquin Phoenix, incarcerated in Arkham as he awaits trial where the prosecutor Harvey Dent is seeking the death penalty. Inside Arkham, Arthur meets Lee Quinzel, aka Harley Quinn, but I guess not really. I've heard two different versions that maybe she is, maybe she isn't, and it's played by Lady Gaga. They form a romance before she gets released, and the second half is Arthur's trial. The defense attorney argues that Arthur has two sides to him. One is Arthur and the other is Joker, and the one that committed the murders was Joker. The story is a tale of two halves. The second half was better than the first, although the second half could still have used some tweaks. After watching the film, the way I would have liked the story to have gone was to start with the trial. Arthur meeting Lee inside Arkham felt forced and shoehorned in. That being said, I did like her character, but I didn't like the way the filmmakers introduced her. How the two met was really odd to me. The main prison guard, who doesn't seem to like Arthur but finds him amusing, puts him in a music therapy class for no rhyme or reason. Prisoners and those hospitalized in Arkham are kept separate, but here we are and that's where they met. Before I continue, I have a quick question. Has Arkham always been both a prison and a mental institution? In this movie, it's divided in this way. If you know the answer, please comment down below. I want to talk about Lee for a bit. I think the Lee story would have worked better if she was introduced apart from Joker. We learn she comes from an upper class family, and it would have been interesting to see her descent into her mental illness and learn why she connects with the Joker. I think the prevailing theory will be that Lee orchestrated the meetup with Arthur. Since Lee comes from an upper class family, perhaps she paid off the prison guard to take him to the music therapy class. There's a scene that makes me believe that could be true. After Arthur is placed in solitary confinement for something that I won't mention, Lee is able to get into the cell to tell him that she's being released. I presume she paid off the guard. For a second, I thought that scene would be a figment of Arthur's imagination, but it wasn't. The following is super spoiler territory, so you've been warned. When the explosion goes off at the courthouse after the verdict is read and Arthur escapes, I think that's when Lee and Arthur should have met, and that should have been the start of the second half of the film. If the filmmakers wanted to introduce her sooner to Arthur, Lee could be in the courtroom during the trial and he would see her and be mesmerized. After the explosion, the two would get to know each other and the Joker falls in love while she lies to him. Just as the story is now, we learn that she's in love with the Joker but not Arthur. But as I mentioned, her introduction should have been separate before they came together. Getting away from spoilers, there are a lot of musical numbers in this film and most of them I did not like. Most of those scenes didn't do anything to elevate the story. On paper, it's an interesting concept to incorporate a musical element to this type of story, but most of the numbers felt like they were done because they have Lady Gaga in the cast, and why not use her best talent? As I mentioned, I liked some of the musical numbers, but there were too many and too many without a real purpose. The ending was interesting. I think it's going to be very divisive. Some are going to like it and some will hate it. I actually liked it. This version of Joker has always meant to be a deviation from the Joker that most of us are familiar with. The ending captures that sentiment in a nutshell. Without giving it away, what we think we know is not what is. I think the Joker in this world is more like Batman in the sense that Joker is more than a person and is to be seen as a symbol. However, there's an asterisk to what I just said. The film gives a taste of the Joker that we expect or are familiar with, but at the same time wants us to see the Joker as a symbol that I mentioned before. It's the type of duality that these two movies have tried to skirt on the edge of being in the more traditional sense of the Batman world, but also being its own thing without Batman being in it. In doing so, you place yourself in a corner with no real direction because one aspect of the story is traditional, but another aspect won't be, which could confuse or frustrate the audience. Overall, the movie was too up and down for me to fully enjoy it. However, that doesn't mean you wouldn't enjoy it and it may be worth watching. If you stuck around this long, why not give the video a like? Try it out, see if it works. Subscribe, check out my other videos, leave a comment, and let me know what you think of the film. See you in the next review.